Someone once told me that the thing about life is that it's so daily. Part of what they meant is that there's a rhythm to life. There's the wake up, there's the make breakfast, get everybody out for the day, everybody regathers at the end of the day, meal again, off to bedtimes and all that sort of thing. That there's this repetitive rhythm to life. Part of what they meant too was that in some ways it's mundane, that if we were to take pictures of moments in our life, there are lots of in-between moments that don't quite make the cut, but they're a pivotal part of life. The commute, it's a huge part of our life. The wake up, get ready in the morning kind of time. There's the passing through the office from one place to another or your workplace. There's traveling to the gym or the coffee shop. There are things in life that are just daily, and they're important. And one of my favorite things about Jesus is that every single moment in life matters, that it's full of potential and possibility. Jesus had this habit of meeting people in the dailiness of their life. Sometimes we read the Bible and think it's all mountaintop moments and all of these really pivotal stories, and I get that. But there's also just dailiness. Jesus lived alongside his followers for the better part of 3 years. They went fishing together. They went to a wedding together as friends. Jesus went to their place of work, met them there. He met their families. They went to church together. They traveled and just walked along together. They camped out together. They traveled across the Sea of Galilee on a boat together. There was lots of dailiness in their lives. And one of the cool things is that in the midst of that, it's in those moments, it's who we are through all the course of those times that also shape who we're becoming. And they're full of opportunities for us to help be an influence and a life bringer to those when our daily lives collide with their daily lives. In fact, we see this with Jesus in Simon Peter in Luke chapter 4. In Luke chapter 4, we see that Jesus and his followers have gone to church together, the synagogue, and then we see Jesus travel to Peter's home. Check this out in verse 38 of chapter 4. It says this, that after leaving the synagogue that day, Jesus went to Simon's home, where he found Simon's mother-in-law very sick with a high fever. Please heal her, everyone begged. And so standing at her bedside, he rebuked the fever, and it left her. And she got up at once and prepared a meal for them. What's more daily than visiting someone's home and engaging their everyday life, to see the things that they're dealing with, to see what their life looks like, and then to share a meal together? Jesus embraced and engaged the dailiness of Simon Peter's life. And what I love is the way that he showed up. In fact, I think this is the way that we can engage the lives of those around us, that as we go through the dailiness of their lives and collide with the dailiness of someone else's life, that we can be life bringers in those moments. They don't have to be mundane. They can matter. They can matter for a long time. That's what happens here with Jesus. Jesus engages and embraces Peter's home life. He shows up. He shows up in Peter's life in just the dailiness by visiting his home. Not only does he show up, but he's really present. That he sees clearly what's going on in Peter's life, the sort of things that he's dealing with. He knew Peter as a fisherman. Later, he would invite him to spend all of his time following him, but he knew what Peter's life and work looked like as a fisherman, and now he enters his home. He takes a step farther into relationship and the dailiness of Peter's life and sees that he's dealing with a sick family. He meets Peter's wife, meets Peter's mother-in-law, sees the family and the community that he lives with. He embraces, he shows up, and he's really present in Peter's life. And not only that, but he decides he's going to make a difference, that he takes action, that he shows up, he's really present, and then he helps in a way that only Jesus could help maybe, that he speaks to a sick mother-in-law and is able to heal her. But the point is not how he does it. The point is that he does it. That Peter's life, the dailiness of his life, is made better because Jesus showed up, was present, and he helped. We can do the exact same thing in the dailiness of our lives. In the mundane, place to place that we go with, the people that we consistently interact with. This is something that every single one of us can do. We can show up. We can be present and intentional. We can choose the places that we go so that we encounter people that we can make a difference in their life. In fact, I learned this kind of by accident from a friend of mine. We started meeting up every Thursday afternoon for a couple hours, talk about life and marriage. We were both trying to help students live fuller lives at that time. We'd talk about that. And we chose to meet up at the same place every Thursday afternoon. We met up at this coffee shop, and we showed up week after week. And what we started to notice was that the same guy was working the counter at the coffee shop every single week. His name was Pete. Now, Pete was this guy maybe in his mid-60s, and he was kind of using this as a side job to supplement some of his retirement income. He's just a really interesting, neat guy, and week after week, we would get to talk to him. Just by showing up and being attentive to the people that were there, we got to engage in a friendship with Pete. In fact, not only did we show up, but we tried to be really present with him, and really this other guy set the pace. I'd learned all this from him. That he would really spend time at the counter talking with Pete. That week after week, instead of just jumping right into what we got there to do, instead of just hurrying to grab our drink, make sure it's right, and go have our meeting, instead, we would engage and talk with Pete. We started to learn more and more about his family, about his situation, how he had kind of distanced himself from his family and had ended up here and didn't really have a lot of connection in the community. He lived in an apartment on his own across town, and the job was okay, but it wasn't really the best fit, wasn't his favorite, didn't get a lot of encouragement, which was interesting because the more we were present with Pete, we realized he was an encourager. He was always pointing out the positive. He was always so kind to people. We got to notice all these things about him by being present. And we all know the difference, right? That you can be somewhere and not really be there. You can be around but not really present. You can be distracted, you can be thinking about something else, you can be always on your phone, but instead to be really present with someone. We learned that over time that there were not only ways by showing up and by being present that we could also be a help. You see, Pete needed some resources in town that he didn't really know where to go. More than anything, Pete needed some friendship, and so every Thursday afternoon we could see it. As time went on, his face would just light up when we would walk in. Because among other people, we just decided to be really present with him. Over time, he would kind of take quick breaks and come over and sit down and interrupt us. I guess it was an interruption, but he was just our friend, so it was kind of awesome getting to engage with him. And we realized that we were actually helping him out by just being a friend to him so that he wouldn't have to be lonely in a new city. Every single one of us can do this in the dailiness of our lives, that we can show up and prepare and just ask God, who do you have for me to meet with here today? At the gym, at the coffee shop, in our house, in a place of work. And over, what will happen if we'll show up and really be present is God will provide ways for us to really make a difference in the lives of those people around us. That we can be life bringers literally everywhere, every day, with everyone. There's opportunity full in every daily moment of life. In fact, that's what we're going to do with our group time tonight. We're going to look just a little bit more at Luke chapter 4 together and talk about the scripture, but then we're going to take a break for 10 or 15 minutes. And in your study guide, you're going to work through some questions that'll hopefully help you key in on some different people that maybe you've thought about them, maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't seen the opportunity before to really show up, be present, and bring life. And so I want to encourage you to really engage and ask God to help you, because God has placed people all over in the dailiness of our lives where we can be life bringers.